Welcome to Nonstop Rock Talk. I'm your host, Tyson Bryden. Today, I'm very happy to welcome bassist Aaron Leigh from Y&T and the Frank Hannon Band, as well as solo artist. Aaron, welcome. How's it going?
It's going great. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Very good. Up in Canada. And
Toronto, right?
Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, I had a day off one time in Toronto and hit Queen Street and went bar hopping. Bought some jewelry.
Nice. Queen's always fun. I haven't been down there in a long time, but I mean, no one's really been out in a long time. So right. So you just released your latest single, "Live for Today." Now I understand this track is taken from your EP. Now, interestingly enough, possibly this EP would not have seen the light of day had COVID not taken place.
Yeah, that's very possible, or could have been at a much later date that it would have emerged. But to just correct you real quick, this new single is not on the EP. This is a single just on its own right now.
Okay.
That may end up on another EP, which in the back of my mind I am planning on doing.
Okay.
But yeah, so this single is separate from the EP that I had released back in. When was that? May, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, the bio confused me.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, man. It's all good. Now, okay, so let's talk about "Live for Today." Interesting track. I will add that Frank Hannon played guitar on this song.
Yes, sir.
But to me, it's got a really fresh vibe. But I kind of hear a sense of modern Def Leppard in the chorus, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I kind of got that vibe from it. I don't know why. It's catchy. It's sing along. Tell me about this song, actually.
Well, I had the music bed for a while, about a year actually. I had the riff and the arrangement, but it just sat there with no lyrics. And being that I have time on my hands here, I just dove in and went into a trance, because that's usually what it takes for me to try to get some lyrics pulled out.
Yeah.
And and then I just got the lyrics together, and that's what became "Live for Today." Having the time right now to devote solely just to me being creative and whatever pops out. It's been cool. It's been fun. It's been refreshing. It's been a restart for me, to be able to write my own stuff with no influence whatsoever. It's just basically whatever I feel like doing, which it's cool. And at the same time, it's kind of a, I wish I had someone to bounce off of,
Right.
But, so it's what it is. But you had mentioned the Def Leppard sounding chorus.
Yeah.
I had one other person mention Def Leppard. Same sort of thing, with I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the stacked backgrounds, because that's what Leppard is known for, But I take that as a compliment, of course, because I love Def Leppard. But yeah, so "Live for Today" is basically, it's what it says, really. People, I think, take for granted a lot of times that things will be there tomorrow, and whatever was before, when it was yesterday, it's sort of irrelevant, so you got to really, what I've been trying to remind myself, is to take stock of where you're at the moment, and really appreciate what you have. Hopefully things are good in your life, when you do take that stock. Not everything is great for a lot of people right now, especially, but hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel, and that's again to just, you're living for today, you're living for the moment, and trying to make things work, and hopefully that living for today will lead into your tomorrow and have a better tomorrow.
Now, are you playing guitar and bass, and exactly what are you playing? Everything, or do you have a band as well?
No, I'm playing all the instruments as I did on my EP. The only other musician that's been on my music is Frank Hannon, and he shred some guitar leads for me. I really like, I was in his band for a while, which I'm not now. So just to be clear, but I was for a long time, actually, for a few years there, and in his solo band. But what's great about Frank, he's just such a musician, that he offers up his time to play on other people's stuff because he loves to play. And, he's so creative. And when he heard Live for Today, I didn't have a guitar lead. I was thinking I was just going to put it out as that middle bridge where Frank does a solo. There's this bass thing going on in the background. And I was just going to turn up the bass and call it done. And because I always believe that there's not enough bass solos in songs anymore. If you refer back to like old Rush, like Free Will, and Geddy Lee's ripping it up in the song. So that's where I was coming from originally. And I had it all done, mastered, ready to go out. And I showed it to Frank and he said, hey man, let me put a guitar solo down on that. So he turned it around and put the solo on it, sent it back to me. And I was like, now it's done.
His solo sounds great. All the soloing he does on it, it's amazing.
Yeah. All the little guitar stabs from the beginning all the way through.
Is all him?
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a great player. I love listening to him play. So, he's just one of those guys. I don't think he gets enough accolades for what he does. But it is what it is. People that know him love him. So
absolutely, yeah.
Now I was running through your stuff on YouTube and I came across this Fleetwood Mac track entitled "Juggling Eye Duty." Really cool tune. It's kind of mellow, and I'd never heard that song before, to be honest with you. So I was like, it's kind of mellow in the verse, and then that chorus hits you. It's really, really strong chorus. Like, it's really amazing. What was your thinking in terms of covering this song? Did it have a special meaning of sorts?
Yeah, it sort of does have a special meaning because it's a song that I used to hear around my house when I was a really young child, like 6 years old. That album, Kiln House, where that track is pulled from, it's, I think, from 1970. And so I would have been, I guess, I would have been 2 years old. I'm trying to do the math. I'm horrible at math. Anyway, I must have been about 5 years old when I was hearing it regularly in the house. Yeah. And for some reason, I always gravitated to that song as I grew, and had my own record collection. I swiped that record from my parents and I stuck it in my collection. And I always went back to that track for some reason. It just always felt good to listen to. The chorus is great. Now, I don't know if you've heard the original.
I haven't.
Okay. So
I'm gonna have to hunt it down and have a listen to it.
Yeah, it's a really chill track, actually. So I did what I would call, like, if T-Rex was to grab the track or something and redo it. I put some strings in it, which I used the keyboard for that stuff, but tried to give it a little different flair, a little more rocked up approach. So there was this meaning going back to when I was a child. It's basically what it is, and it's always been my favorite track on that record. And that's long before Stevie Nicks.
This is like Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, is it? Was Peter Green?
No. This was right after that. It was Jeremy Spencer and Danny Kerwin.
Okay.
And it was Mick Fleetwood and John McVie. Yeah. And I think Christine McVie had just come in at that point.
Cool.
And played some keyboards on that too. So yeah.
Like I said, I'm not really familiar. Of course, I'm familiar with the Stevie Nicks era of Lindsey Buckingham, as most people are, but I'm not that familiar with that era. And I'm going to have to go back and check it out because, that was a really killer song, like I said. So that chorus part with the heavier guitar, that's not on the original like that?
Well, not in those sonic elements. It gets, you could tell that for them, that was getting a little heavier, in the chorus section. When you listen to the original, you'll hear what I'm talking about. Okay. So I kept pretty close, to the vibe. But just the production, the sonics of it, and the heavier guitars in it with more of aggressive vocal. So I took it, I think, to a different place, but it still has the elements to it.
That's cool.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Yeah.
That's a cool tune. Tell Me is a really laid back, great guitar tones. I love that vibrato lead guitar mixed with the acoustic guitar. That was so cool. That sounds really good.
Thanks.
I mean, when writing songs, since I mean you play with a band like Y&T, and this is very different from that. Was this a project that possibly you were like doing your own material to show a different side of your artistry?
Yeah, well, it's just what's coming out. You know, it's not anything that I'm trying to like a contrived sound or anything. It's just, you know, I mean, the first single that I put out, Insanity, sounds different than Tell Me.
Yeah.
And, you know, Live for Today sounds different than both of those, you know. And then I've got a real deep kind of a ballady Pink Floyd-ish cut on the EP called Don't Say Goodbye. So they're all a little different. And what it is just whatever's flowing through, you know. I've said this many times now that when you've got your antenna up and you're able to receive what's coming in, you know, it's coming right through you, you know. Yeah. I'm just the conduit, really, you know.
That's cool. I mean, speaking of Insanity, to me, that song has a very late 90s type of sound. Like when you think of bands like Collective Soul and Goo Goo Dolls, and that's the kind of vibe I got from it. And I love that era of rock.
So do I. Yeah. And you nailed it. That's kind of where I was kind of coming from. I love Collective Soul. Been a huge fan of that band for so many years. And I actually, you know, you're on it, Tyson. You definitely, you're hearing things that you know, I put up a Collective Soul track and I was kind of mirroring Insanity and a track called Run, which is on the Dosage record. Yeah. And I was kind of mirroring, you know, just listening to their sonics and then Insanity sonics of it and the production. And, you know, I felt that it was falling in that sort of category of that sound, you know, so you nailed it, man.
They were a great band. I mean, Ed, what's his last name? Roland?
Yeah.
He's a great songwriter, man.
Yeah.
He was like just killer. And which leads me to my next point. I watched your acoustic performance, the one that there's one from last year, I believe, in where you're sitting right now, on YouTube. And you played Collective Soul, Goo Goo Dolls, Soul Asylum. I was loving that. I was like, oh man, this is so cool. But then you went into Ziggy Stardust, and there's the carpet and the candles and this great vibe. And then John Lennon, which was brilliant. And then Billy Squier, which I was like, what is this song? And I was like, oh, wait, it's Billy Squier. That's so cool. And then Ramble On. So you kind of had this, and Ice Cream Man to close it off. And there was another one in there, but I didn't know the song. I can't remember. It was kind of, I think it was before Goo Goo Dolls, but I didn't know that one. But I mean, I take it that kind of performance probably is your way of showing your influences and everything that you're into, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you could say that. You know, I'm just a fan of great music, and I really I'm kind of a sucker for a great pop tune as well. You know,
I am too.
So you know, I'm into melodies, I'm into hooks, you know, things like that. But I basically, when I do a solo acoustic stuff, is I'm playing stuff that I like. That's it, man. I'm not trying to please any masses or the room, you know. Yeah. I'm basically playing what feels good to me and what I can actually pull off vocally, because that's really that's true. That's the hard part, you know. Especially when you're just a guy with a guitar in your hand, you know. So yeah, but I mean, again, you're nailing it, man. I mean, those sort of songs, like even the 90s stuff, you know, I've got a real love for that type of music. You know, I know a lot of people, man, in the 90s, they were just like not into what was going on, you know, especially if you were from the 70s or the 80s, you know. But I have a lot of appreciation for that 90s stuff.
I did too. I was more like when Collective Soul and those type of bands came on, I didn't necessarily like, I of course I liked Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. I wasn't a huge Nirvana guy, probably because I was at that time, I was still fighting the, the change, right?
Yeah.
But when the mid 90s hit and you had bands like Collective Soul, Goo Goo Dolls, Tonic was a band that I absolutely loved, Dishwalla, all that kind of sound that came at the end of the 90s. It was like these more, like power pop, great songwriting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the lyrics seemed a little bit more thought out too. Not that they weren't in the early 90s, because they were very thought out, but you had these great melodies with these great lyrics, and they weren't songs, with like 2-minute guitar solos. They were, to the point, and they were great, well written.
Yeah, I think too, when you can grab, I think, let me roll back a little. Those songs to me from the 90s sound like they were written on an acoustic guitar, like just real simple arrangements and chord structures. There was nothing really too complicated going on, but you had great lyrics, you had great melodies, and a nice production behind what was going on. But those songs, they're not complicated by any means. That's why it's easy to grab a guitar, be a solo guy, and sing those
and play
songs.
them.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you did Soul Asylum, Runaway Train. And I mean, you listen to that song, there's a bunch of different guitar parts going on, but you can just pick up a guitar and play the chords and it sounds great. Yeah. It's one of those really cool tunes. I'm a guitar player myself. So someone asked me to play. I was in a garage one night drinking beer and hanging out with buddies. Guy passed me a guitar and I was like, what am I going to play? And all of a sudden Dishwalla came, Counting Blue Cars. And it's like, like 3-4 chords, and people dig that. And as soon as you play it, everybody knows it. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I'm coming from with the acoustic solo thing. It's just to have fun with it, keep the vocal chops up, challenge myself, and I think that it never ends when you're doing covers, or if you're influenced by a certain artist to play some of their material. I think it all seeps into who you become. You can kind of pull things, the good stuff, or what you would think is the good stuff, and create it and make it your own in a sense. So
that's cool. Now, I must ask about Y&T. I'm on the email list for updates. So I seen the other day a bunch of dates came out. I guess you guys are booked for summer into the fall, a bunch of European dates, or is that going to next year, to 2022?
Yeah, the Europe tour has been moved to 2022. As far as I know, we've got a couple shows here in August coming up. And past that, I haven't seen anything. I'm like you, to be honest, man, when I find out about a show, it's on social media, or if someone else tells me. It's not like I get all these updates, but, so I don't really see, unless there's things behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, we're not very busy right now. I think we're still reeling from the last 15 months, and for us as Y&T, probably just trying to get back on our feet and get the calendar stabilized.
Yeah, because people are I know there's a lot going on in the States and Canada, not so much yet, but it's like, I think there's still apprehension. It's like, do we do this? Do we not do this? There's you see people doing things and you're like, is it the right time to do it? Or should we be waiting a little bit longer?
Yeah. I think these venues are just, I'm sure that they're just trying to figure out the logistics factor, I don't know about, these half capacities or, limited capacity kind of situations. I know that the gigs that we're doing, the August 13th in Reno and August 14th here in Rockland, where I live, actually, they're going to be full capacity shows. There's no limits. So that'll be fun. That'll be great.
That's got to be exciting. Just to you're probably like, I want to do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I would, God, yeah, absolutely. If we could go out tomorrow, I'm sure we're going to start rehearsals, sooner than later. And the thing is, is we got to get together and tighten everything back up, knock the rust off, and, carve out our set, what we're going to be doing, which is I'm excited about. I think I'm going to write out my own set and give it to Dave Menichetti and say, here, let's do this.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So, and you know what, that leads me into my next question. I mean, this might be a silly question, but I got to ask it, because in terms of their catalog, what is your definitive Y&T album?
Wow. Well, probably Black Tiger.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
It's a toss-up. They're real close. It's Black Tiger or Mean Streak.
Yeah.
Earthshaker to Contagious, if we had to expand it out even a little more, but I would say Black Tiger, just because that was the record that I got into when I was a teenager, man, 14 years old and hearing that stuff. And I was just banged upside the head with it, and it just became like the fixture of my music listening, man. And it really sparked me as a young player, especially bass player, listening to Phil Kennemore, hearing those bass lines and learning every song, and, really getting into it deep and dissecting it. And all my neighborhood buddies that played guitar were learning all those same songs, and we'd get together and we'd jam Y&T songs. And we'd basically form bands when we were kids around Y&T songs.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool, man. That's awesome. Now, in terms of, and I'm going to tell you what my favorite Y&T album is, and you might be surprised. But now, is there a song in, like that you guys do that you're just like, you're totally pumped when you get to play it? Like, is there like one song, or is it probably just most of them?
Well, yeah, it's always, the whole set is just pumped the whole time. But when we do Hang 'em High, I really enjoy Hang 'em High because it's such a drive-in song, especially the bass line. And, and when Dave Menichetti comes out ripping that solo, and it's just, it's so over the top, man. I love playing Hang 'em High, but then again, I love playing Forever. I love playing Mean Streak.
Don't Stop Running.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The crowd probably goes nuts when that's a big staple, and Mean Streak's such a great song too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, and it's funny because my favorite album is actually 10. And you said you liked everything up to Contagious, but it's only because that's the first Y&T album that I ever got. I knew the band, but it's the first one I bought. And my two favorite songs are City and what's the one now? I lost my my train of thought. She's Gone. I always love those songs. I like the cowbell and that and whatnot. But Don't Stop Running's one, and Mean Streak. And actually, before our interview, you mentioned Black Tiger. I had my vinyl on. I had that cranked.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's just such a great album. I pretty much like everything in the catalog, even after 10, because those two albums after that are like really interesting, really cool, right?
Yeah, the 90s records.
The 90s records, Musically Incorrect. And,
yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the other one. Jeez.
I was just thinking, because we were doing some stuff off of Musically Incorrect on the last Europe tour. And now the song escapes me, but it starts with a bass line, and it's real driving and kind of sexy. And God, I wish I could remember what it was. Here's the thing with the Y&T catalog. There's so many songs. Yeah. And that's what's so great. And I've said this so many times, there's not a bad Y&T song. There just isn't.
No, there isn't. I agree.
And there's so much of it. So it's a little overwhelming sometimes when you're trying to create a set list. It's we got to do Mean Streak. We got to do Rescue Me. So there's certain ones that you got to do at every show. But then there's the filler stuff where you go, wouldn't it be cool if we did this, or throw this in there, So there's always stuff to pull from.
Yeah, I mean that live at the Fillmore show. I think it was before you joined the band. That came out. They do "Surrender" off of 10, and when I got that, I was like, oh, that's surprising that they did that song, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it was cool because it's like, oh, they broke that one out. I love it when bands do that. It's not like sticking to a straight normal set list that they play all the time, kind of mixing it up. It's good for the fans, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool is during the show, usually right around getting towards the end, sometimes Dave will open up the crowd to requests, and that is hilarious because all you hear is just this yelling, screaming back at you, all these song titles, and they're just mushed together, and you can't really tell what someone's saying, and it's like, but so to hear the fans screaming out their favorite songs of what they want us to play, it's all over the place,
Yeah.
So,
have you guys ever done Go for the Throat?
Oh yeah. In fact, that's one that when we do open up the requests line, a lot of people scream that one out, and we'll just rip right into it.
That's cool. So you have to be kind of on the ball to have to remember everything.
Yeah. I mean, when you've been playing the songs, for years at a time like that, and pulling songs from different records, and then you don't play them for a while. But for me, it's like just like riding a bike. Once you played it once or twice, it sticks with you, and oh yeah, that's how that goes. Right, let's do it. Hit it, go.
That's awesome. That sounds fun. That's so good. So, so you mentioned that there may be another EP at some point. My solo stuff? Yeah, your solo stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I went back to your solo stuff. My apologies. I kind of went back to your solo stuff. I thought maybe
you were talking about the Y&T acoustic.
Well, I was going to ask about if there will be. Are there any plans to record another Y&T album? Has anything been mentioned about that?
No.
Just a straight no. That's too bad. No, but I get it. You guys are so busy too, man. You guys are
but you know what? Who knows, man? Anything can happen, as everyone knows, man. It's just, I would love for that to happen for my own personal reasons, just so I can be part of that legacy. I mean, I already, I played on the acoustic record. I even mixed the acoustic record, but to be able to write with the guys, get in a studio, and really cut brand new Y&T material is a bucket list thing for me. So I'm going to have to be knocking on Dave Menichetti's door about this.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, and you mentioned that you were such a big Phil Kennemore fan. Do you think, like, going into it, you'd be like, okay, would you be thinking, I wonder what Phil would do? Do you think your mindset would be that at all?
Well, from what I gather, and I didn't really know this until I got in the band, and Dave was telling me that Phil wrote a lot of the lyrics for the Y&T songs. He was a great lyric writer, and that's something that I'm not going to claim to be, is a great lyric writer, because lyrics to me are very hard. They're the most difficult part of a songwriting process. And so now that Phil's not in the picture, unfortunately, I'm sure that Dave probably feels like he's lost his Paul McCartney or his John Lennon, Right. I mean, they worked so well together. But it would be interesting to all of us get in a room and see what comes out. I mean, it's got to happen. Yeah. And as for a follow-up to the acoustic EP, it's called Volume 1 for a reason, I think. And, so there will be a Volume 2 down the road. Those songs, the Y&T catalog, there's songs that really lend to that acoustic flavor, to strip things back a bit and create a different arrangement, a different feel. But there's just so many songs that can be, given that production value, the acoustic thing. So, yeah. I can see that.
I haven't heard it, so I'm going to have to check that out too, because I haven't heard it yet. I knew about it, but I haven't heard it. So,
yeah, give it a listen.
I will definitely. Well, Aaron, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tyson.
Now, the first EP that you did, where can that be found? Probably you could go to my website, aaronleigh.com. And you can order the EP there.
Obviously, you can hit any streaming platform. It's got, my singles that I've been putting out in the last 15 months. And, but the best way, I guess, is just to go to my website, aaronleigh.com. And I don't think I answered your question about if there's a second EP coming. There will be. Yeah,
there will.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I'll look for that too. So, okay. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll talk again at some point. And best of luck, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great night.
You too.